Jesus Christ. I just woke up. It's time for a brand new episode of Blureel Studios. When did I do the last one? Let me just check right here. Oops. Oops. It's been over a year since the last one. Did I miss anything? Hello and welcome, guys, to a brand new episode of Blureel Studios. The last one was in February last year. Different times, am I right? It's good to be back. I've been planning on doing this video for such a long time. I recorded this video on many occasions, but never got to the editing process, and by the time I would get to it, I got new Blu-rays and new additions to the Blureel family, so I put it off and last year happened, the whole thing, the whole thing. But I've been keeping busy, I've been working a lot, I've been working out a lot, working on my immune system, you know what I mean, keep that stuff nice and pristine. But I got a lot of Blu-rays to talk about in this episode, and it's gonna be several parts. Let's call this the 2020 Blureel Studios wrap-up party. And we're gonna start off with the regular Blu-rays. So join me on the brand new episode of Blureel Studios. So first up on this episode, we're going to talk about the regular Blu-rays and the 4Ks that I acquired over the last year. They're quite a bit. Let's get through this one very quickly because I know you want to get to all of that good stuff over there. And of course, the steelbooks right next to them. So let's start off with The Gentleman. Guy Ritchie returning to form with a fantastic gangster film. Not his best, but surely entertaining, well written, and certainly well directed. I love this movie. Check it out if you get a chance. Colin Farrell is amazing in this movie. The Crazies, the remake for George A. Romero's The Crazies, and in my opinion, this is the better film. Obviously a bigger budget, a lot better technology than they had back then, but still, I would recommend it. It's a pretty suspenseful and well-made horror film. Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg in The Other Guys. I just like this film. I think it's hilarious. I think the rant from Mark Wahlberg about being a peacock and letting him fly, it's comedy gold. If you've never seen the film, Samuel L. Jackson and Dwayne Johnson are hilarious. Up next, we have the Criterion Collection of Roma. I have never seen the film. It's on my watch list, so I knew I had to pick it up when I saw it during my visit in France last year when we still were able to do that. Yeah, it's a thing. I saw this laying around there for a great price and I was like, yes, I gotta pick this up. Criterion Collection is always a win, especially with their Blu-ray. Nicolas Cage is The Lord of War. Fantastic film, dark kind of comedy. Jared Leto is in this film and his performance is pretty damn great. Ethan Hawke, it's directed by Andrew Niccol, also written by the man. It's a fantastic film with one of the best opening credit sequences to date. Check this one out if you haven't already. Ben Stiller in Zoolander. I heard the second one wasn't that great, but the first one is hilarious, and I saw this laying around in Just Movies, the shop I talked about several episodes ago. Picked this one up for a great price. Cannot wait to watch it. And since we have time, nothing but time to watch it, it's probably going to be watched very soon. Public Enemies, Johnny Depp, Christian Bale, and Marion Cotillard in a film by Michael Mann. I wanted to see this one when it came out because there was a lot of buzz surrounding it, and back then I was like really into The Godfather, Goodfellas, the whole thing, and this looked like a film right up my alley, but never got around to seeing it, and I saw it laying around on Blu-ray in Just Movies, so I had to pick it up. Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino's double feature, Grindhouse. This is the German release, which actually features the entire presentation. The double feature, the fake trailers, which are absolutely amazing and worth the price for this Blu-ray alone. It's a fantastic experience watching these films back to back. And Planet Terror is a film I hadn't seen before. I have watched Death Proof, the extended cut, as part of the Criterion Collection, but I had never seen Planet Terror, and I can honestly say it's pretty freaking great. It's so well made, it's so well done, and I love it so much. Check it out if you haven't. If you can pick up this Blu-ray, I highly recommend it for the trailers alone. They're absolutely hilarious. Check it out. Harry Potter in Guns Akimbo. No, Daniel Radcliffe plays a game developer who gets mixed up with the wrong crowd and is dumped into this life or death situation, and having two guns surgically attached to his hands. But to me, the draw for this film is Samara Weaving. She is an absolutely fantastic actress. She's also the lead in Ready or Not, a movie I love so much. It's fucking hilarious. But Guns Akimbo, she again steals the show. Her character is funny, it's fun, and then there's a backstory there that you weren't really expecting. The film is energetic, fast-paced. It's the perfect movie if you're a Twitch shooter gamer. You're gonna love this film. It's not perfect by any means. It could have been better, but still, it's a lot of fun, and your afternoon is gonna raise by when you watch it. Another film I picked up in France for a great price is Yesterday by Danny Boyle, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Danny Boyle. I love the premise of this film. You know, the whole world forgetting that the Beatles existing except one guy who remembers it, and then remembers their lyrics quite a bit differently than they actually were. Love the premise for this film, and from what I hear, I haven't seen it yet, it's a fantastic little movie, so I cannot wait to watch it. Up next we have two Criterion Collection films with 12 Angry Men, which is absolutely phenomenal. I watched it last year, and I can honestly say it's like one of the best written, well-directed, well-acted films I've ever seen. It's so great. You know, how it all concludes and how all of the characters kind of progress and evolve, and I don't want to spoil too much if you don't know anything about it, but it's really a legitimately great film with a fantastic performance by Henry Fonda. But not just Henry Fonda, they're all just great. And for a film that came out in the 50s, 1957, it still holds up amazingly well. It's insane. It's one of the best films ever made, in my opinion. Another Criterion Collection for The Last Temptation of Christ, starring Willem Dafoe, under the direction of Martin Scorsese. A film that was controversial when it was released, and over the years has garnered more and more respect. But I really want to see it because it's a Martin Scorsese picture released by Criterion, so that's why I picked it up. Up next, we have one of the greatest and just most appreciated trilogies of all time, and it's a trilogy I had never seen before until I picked up the Back to the Future trilogy on Blu-ray. I watched it immediately when I got home because I was like, I cannot put this off anymore. I really have to see what the fuss is all about with this film. And this trilogy is phenomenal. Yes, obviously, I'm really late to the party, but damn it, it's such a fun, creative, and well-made trilogy that stands the test of time in terms of special effects, in terms of themes, in terms of stories, and oh man, I love this trilogy so much. And it's like wish fulfillment in some ways. Like the hoverboard, of course, the Nike shoes, but the idea of going back in time, or forward in time for that matter, with a crazy professor and an awesome car, like that's the boy's dream, isn't it? If you have never seen Back to the Future, what are you doing? I can say that now because I've seen it. But what are you doing? It's phenomenal. It's like one of my favorite trilogies of all time. Like, it's so great. It's so great. And please don't remake it. Don't put a sequel on there. It's perfect exactly the way it is. It's perfect. Leave it alone. Just leave it alone. It's done. It's Don't ruin this. It's the perfect trilogy. Don't ruin it. It's just leave it alone. Stay off it, you know? Back to the Future. Up next, a film that came recommended by Jay Bauman from Red Letter Media, and if you know anything about this man, you know that his tastes and his preferences are kind of weird. And he recommended The Greasy Strangler, a film that has been co-produced or produced by Elijah Wood and his production company. And it's a film about a serial killer called The Greasy Strangler and his weird-ass son. I haven't seen it yet, but from what I can tell, it has really awkward and weird humor, and I'm all about awkward and weird humor, am I right? So The Greasy Strangler, I'll let you know what this film actually is, if it's any good or not, once I see it. I haven't seen it yet. And that's a recurring theme with all of these films. A film that I have seen, and which was actually delightful, is Jojo Rabbit. What a fun, creative, well-made film with a main character. This performance by this young man is absolutely incredible. Scarlett Johansson making me cry. What are you doing, ScarJo? That's like twice you did that to me. Twice. It's crazy. But it's a phenomenal film. So much fun. A story that is endearing, that is heartwarming, and yeah, I just love it. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. And this character, I mean, Sam Rockwell is always a win. But the ability to play a character that looks like this, is dressed like this, and actually making him heartwarming and, you know, kind of charming, that's talent. That's talent in the writing department as well as the acting department, and both of these departments are solid. Taika Waititi is one of the best filmmakers working today, or at least the most creative and innovative filmmakers working today, and his work on The Mandalorian is phenomenal. What he did with Thor is, yes, thank you for making Thor hilarious and funny, and what he did with this film, it's Oscar worthy, and it got the Oscar that it deserves, in my opinion. I love this film. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's phenomenal. Oh, moving on with the regular Blu-rays, we have Hostiles, starring Christian Bale, Rosamund Pike, and Wes Studi. Yeah, Rosamund Pike is like one of my favorite actresses of all time. She is so great. She is gorgeous, talented. She can be funny. She can be menacing. Have you seen Gone Girl? Holy sh... Yeah. And Christian Bale is always a win, in my opinion. I've never seen the film. I have yet to watch it, but I love westerns, and this looks to be like a gritty and well-made food western, so I cannot wait to dive into it. Hotel Artemis with Sofia Boutella. Like, can you please? Like, Jesus Christ. But Jeff Goldblum is in this movie. Jodie Foster. Yeah, interesting concept. This hotel where hitmen basically can stay and can heal from their wounds. It's basically a film about the hotel, as also in John Wick, but like a comedic version of it. I have yet to watch it, like many of the films I've discussed on this episode. But yeah, Jeff Goldblum is always a win, and Jodie Foster is like one of the greatest actresses ever. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Directed by Drew Pearce. Up next we have La Planète Sauvage. Fantastic Planet, as it is known. I bought this on the fact that Sardonicast, the podcast from Your Movie Sucks, and I Hate Everything, and Ralph the Movie Maker, we're going to discuss this film in one of their episodes, and I wanted to see it for myself, so I picked it up. Yeah, it's a weird film. It's an animated movie from like the 70s, and it is really, really weird. It's really weird. Oh hi. Oh hi. Of course you're joining me. Like, let me just adjust the camera so you can see little Miss Leo. There she is. Always with the cameo, right? Always with the cameo, unasked, unprompted, and always appreciated, right? Little Miss Leo. Just laying down on the keyboard. Oh no, right. I'll just give you some space, right? Is this better? Is this better? I think it is. But yeah, La Planète Sauvage is a weird-ass movie. It's really interesting and creative, and the world that they portray in this film is pretty disturbing in a lot of ways, and pretty out there. But I enjoyed it, but I cannot really see myself rewatching it anytime soon. But it was interesting watching this film and then going to that discussion on Sardonicast and seeing what they picked up in the film and what they appreciated. But I can't really recommend it if your taste is, or your preference is like Pixar, because this is not that. This is not that at all. This is really weird, really disturbing at times. Yeah, it's not for everyone. I'm not quite sure if it's even for me, to be honest. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, I picked this up because it had the 2 discs, the special edition, and yeah, I want to see that because I love this movie. It's like one of most underrated films of all time. It's criminal that this film didn't make the money it deserved, and we're not getting a true sequel to this film with David Fincher and Daniel Craig involved and Rooney Mara. Rooney Mara is, oh my god, what a performance. Yeah, I love this movie. It's fantastic, and I want to see the bonus features. You know, I want to see Mr. Fincher working. I want to see this guy putting in the work, and that's why I picked this up for a great price at Just Movies. So, now, one of the greatest films of 2019. A film I had been waiting for literally over a decade, I want to say. Because I heard whispers of this movie back in 2007, 2008, and IMDb had it listed in pre-production for such a long time. It was called The Irishman, starring Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, and directed by Martin Scorsese. Like, let me paint a picture here. My favorite actors back in the day were Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, and Denzel Washington, which is, yeah. But Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, them working together on the direction of Martin Scorsese, that was my dream. That was my ultimate dream, because Al Pacino had never worked with Scorsese before, and seeing these 2 actors in one movie, throw in Joe Pesci, on the direction of Martin Scorsese. The only thing I was missing in this movie was like Leonardo DiCaprio or Tom Hardy. Like, that would have been everything. I was waiting for this film for such a long time, and when Netflix finally announced it, that they were picking it up and releasing it, I was like, yes. And then of course Criterion swoops in with a Blu-ray release that is phenomenal. Criterion, please relax. Like, I love the art style, like this portrait, you know, it's like a painting type art style. And then we have Robert De Niro's face, Joe Pesci, and of course, the Trinity is not complete without Al Pacino. Oh my god. Yeah, this film is amazing. It's amazing. It's like one of my favorite films of 2019. Certainly, like, one of the greatest gangster films ever made, in my opinion. It is not for everyone. It is a long-ass movie. It's like 209 minutes. Crazy length. But the film is legitimately amazing. The writing, the performances, the cinematography, the editing, the direction, it's so great. There's a lot of talking in this film. Walking in a room and talking. Rocking in a room and talking. No, but literally, there's a lot of dialogue in there. But the dynamics between the characters and what this dialogue is implying about these relationships between these characters, it's so gripping, suspenseful, fascinating, and amazing. Like, I cannot stress enough how great this film is. It's not for everyone if you're put out by the length of it. The CGI is inconsistent, I want to say. I think Marvel and Disney have a technique that is superior to what they're using in this film. But at times you're forgetting about it, because the performances are that great, the writing is that great, the production design, the set design, the whole thing surrounding these characters is thought out to a T. Oh man, I can gush about this movie for hours. All I can say is it's like one of my favorite films of 2019, and picking this one up was great. It's great. And of course the bonus features. Up next we have Dr. Sleep, a film that was a bit of a bomb at the box office, but everyone who has seen it, or most people who have seen it, love it. Directed by Mike Flanagan, who also did the editing and who is responsible for the Netflix series of The Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor. Two shows that are pretty great, but here he provides a sequel to one of the greatest films ever made, certainly one of the greatest horror films ever made, that I didn't know I want. Dr. Sleep is legitimately fantastic. And yes, there is, of course, nostalgia in there. The Shining stuff in this film is great, but it serves a purpose. And by the time it goes full-fledged Shining sequel, you're 2 hours into the film. And the film had to earn your trust and your commitment at that point, with great characters, fantastic performances, amazingly directed sequences, and a antagonist that is Rose the Hat. Where's Rose the Hat? I mean, Rebecca Ferguson, like, oh my god. To me, this performance is Oscar-worthy. There's no question about it. Ewan McGregor is always a win, but Rebecca Ferguson as Rose the Hat is like, oh, Jesus Christ. A presence. Yeah, I love this movie. And people who are calling this one a cash grab, Adam from Your Movie Sucks, I don't agree. I disagree so hard. You're entitled to your opinion, of course, and the points you're making, I can't really refute because it's like an opinion-based, you know, like taste and subjective. But I disagree on the idea that this one's a cash grab. It's called Dr. Sleep. Like, it's the most unmarketable name you could possibly come up with. As a sequel to The Shining, you're gonna call this Dr. Sleep and then legitimately call it this one a cash grab? I disagree. And the idea, like, yeah, it opens up with some stuff for The Shining, but it is all character development. It is all setting up this character and showcasing that our main character, Danny, is damaged. It's damaged. He's so damaged. It's hard to watch. And he has it, you know, that sequence kind of sets up certain things that are important in the rest of the film, like these boxes, Danny locking things away. It's important that we know that for scenes to come, and it's character development, and it's of course it's kind of like re-grabbing our nostalgia, but there's nothing wrong with that, because for the rest of the film, like over 2 hours almost, the film has to win you over with great characters and a great story, and it does. In my opinion, it does. And then when it gets back to the Overlook Hotel, by that point, you know, either the film has won you over or it hasn't. And I guess for you, Adam, it didn't, but I disagree. I love you and love your videos, but I kind of disagree on the fact that this is a cash grab. Okay. All right, let's get to some disturbing things. Yeah. One second. This year, the documentary series called Night Stalker was released on Netflix, which I highly recommend. I already knew about this guy. I watched, like, 10 years ago, I had, like, this fascination with serial killers, and I watched a lot of documentaries, and Night Stalker was one of them. I'm not fascinated by them because I want to be one. I'm fascinated by them because I cannot fathom how these brains work, how these people function on a psychological level. So I find it fascinating to dive into that kind of stuff. And Night Stalker is a fantastic documentary series. I highly recommend it if you have the stomach for it, because it goes in depth and it shows some crime scene photos. But I love that series, and I especially love how it all wraps up. And yeah, I won't spoil too much of it, but just watch it. It's really great. But I was kind of on like a serial killer binge type of thing. I watched Mindhunter, which is a fantastic series. Please, season 3, please just come with a season 3. We all want it. We all want it. Everyone who's seen the series wants it. Please. But I was kind of in a serial killer mood over the past few months, so I picked up some serial killer films. American Psycho. Yeah, I own a DVD, but not having it on Blu-ray hurts me. So I picked it up in Just Movies for a fantastic price. So yeah, American Psycho, like one of my favorite films. The Clove Hitch Killer, holy crap. If you've never seen the film, like, oh my god, it's really great. It's a story about a young boy who starts to suspect his father is a serial killer that was active a decade ago and who has disappeared from the radar. And now he starts suspecting that it might be his father. And it makes for a suspenseful, well-made thriller, yeah, that is based on the BTK killer. If you know that story, this is like the best BTK film ever made without actually being about the BTK. But there are so many similar elements or details to this story that are like ripped straight from BTK. That if you know that story about BTK, you're gonna enjoy this film because it's like the best representation of that type of story to date. I love this film, fantastic performances and a really disturbing ending. I can only recommend it. The Bone Collector, starring Denzel Washington and Angelina Jolie. Pretty gritty at times, pretty great setup for a story. From what I remember, the ending is just goes way too far and over the top, and it feels like a slasher film. But up to that point, it's legitimately suspenseful, well made, and the crime scenes and the idea of following this character who is learning to investigate a crime scene with a mentor figure. Pretty great setup for a serial killer film, but from what I remember, the ending was kind of like just jumping the shark a bit, but up to that point, it's really great, and I can recommend it. Up next, we have I Saw the Devil, and it's being called one of the best serial killer films since Seven. It stars Cho Min-sik, one of the greatest actors alive today. This guy right here. This guy. This guy right here. If you don't know who that is, have you seen Old Boy? One of my favorite movies of all time, and legitimately one of the greatest films ever made, and certainly the best revenge movie ever made. Old Boy. It has to be on your watch list. It has to be. It's like phenomenal. His performance in Old Boy is iconic. It's daring. It's ambitious. It is phenomenal. And once again, in this film, Cho Min-sik is like the best part of it. He plays a serial killer in this movie. Yeah, I love this. I like this film for its setup. So basically, the idea is we have our main character who is a special agent. In the beginning of the film, his wife is being captured by the serial killer, tortured and killed, which sets our main character on a quest for revenge. But rather than killing him immediately, our main character captures the serial killer, does bad things to him, tortures him, hurts him a lot, takes some of his mobility away, and then sets him free. And then captures him again, and does some horrible shit to him, and sets him free. And what a fantastic idea for a revenge movie. That is such a great idea. And they make the most of that idea in this film. I love this movie in a lot of ways, but in certain ways it is kind of disappointing because there are a lot of plot contrivances, a lot of conveniences and flukes that kind of ruin my suspension of disbelief, unfortunately. But these moments are far and few between, so for the most part the film wins you back over because there's some legitimately fantastic scenes and performances. The performances are great. The gore is it's an unnerving, unsettling film in a lot of ways, but still I wanted more from this. That being said, it's like literally like an 8 out of 10 on my scale. Like, it's still a great film, but how it was represented and the potential within the film, I wanted it to be a 10 out of 10. There is so much greatness in this movie, so much that it deserves a watch. It deserves a buy on Blu-ray. You're gonna love it, but wanted a bit more, unfortunately. I want a bit more. Let's top this one off with one final addition to the family, a DVD. Yeah, look at this beauty. Collection, Psychokillers, A Slice of Evil. The box contains Cannibal, the Manson Family, and Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Now, the main reason why I bought this movie is it had Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, and I bought this entire box set for like 10 bucks. Yeah, that's the only reason I wanted to buy it. And I watched Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Ooh, phenomenal film. Like, it's disturbing, it's well made, and it's about a character based on a serial killer that is now also on Netflix, called The Confession Killer, I believe. That character, this is what that film is based on. But look at the horrendous design of this packaging. Like, it's awful, awful. And look at the back. There's a picture of monkeys on there for some reason. Like, it's horrible, horrible packaging. But within it, at least one great film, and I have yet to see the other two. I wanted to do reviews on this channel as well, and maybe this might be the first review I do, like a triple feature review of the Psychokillers box set. It's an idea I'm floating around. Let me know what you think. I have one more Blu-ray laying around. American Gangster. I love this movie. It's really, really great. If you have never seen it, Ridley Scott is in his A game, in my opinion, in this film. Russell Crowe is phenomenal. I love the story. I love the performances. Denzel Washington as a gangster, as an like a crime boss. Like, yes, please, please. The production design, the writing, direction. Yeah, I love this movie. It's fantastic. This is the extended cut on Blu-ray. Comes with a lot of bonus features, which I love to dive into. This film is from 2007. Like, 2007. Damn. Yeah, American Gangster. Not much more to say about it other than it's great. So, with that out of the way, let's dive into some 4Ks that I acquired last year. These are not the steelbooks that have arrived last year, but just the regular 4K Blu-rays that I got. Blade Runner 2049. Obviously, I had to pick this up. With Stellan Zavi, one of my favorite films of all time. One of, if not the best sequel ever made. Yeah, it's Blade Runner 2049. Of course I had to pick it up in 4K. Arrival, another one of my favorite films of all time. Yes, there's a theme going on. Yeah, I love this movie. This is probably gonna be like one of my next tattoo ideas. I want to get another one. I'm probably gonna get some inspiration out of this film. I don't quite know what yet, but I'll get there. I love this movie. Amy Adams is just amazing in the film. A fantastic story and a conclusion that is just so amazing. Shadow, director from House of Flying Daggers. I'm sorry about that. House of Flying Daggers. Zhang Yimou, from Academy Award nominee Zhang Yimou, who also made The Great Wall, a film that I really don't like, with Matt Damon fighting lizards. It's a thing, but he made a film that is legitimately phenomenal called Shadow. The black and white aesthetic, it's perfect for the themes, for the atmosphere, and for the action scenes. There's so much to be appreciated in this movie. If you have not seen Shadow, I picked this up for $7, a 4K for $7, and of course I had to pick it up. It's a phenomenal film, one that is well made, well acted, well written, and the fight scenes are just amazing. Shadow, if you've never heard of this film, just watch it. It's really, really great. Annihilation by Alex Garland, director of Ex Machina. Yeah, there's a lot of, opinions floating around about this movie. I like it a lot. It's not perfect. There's some things to be desired. The ending is a mixed bag in my opinion, but there's a lot in this film that is creative, innovative, and disturbing in a lot of ways. I'm thinking about the bear scene, which, yeah, it's like one of the most terrifying scenes in sci-fi in decades. It's really that disgustingly horrifying. But I like this film. I like the score a lot. There's one theme that I think they used a little too little, in my opinion. I want to hear more of that because it's like so alien and otherworldly. And they even use it in like the title screen, you know, the menu selection. It's that score, so they know how great it is. And I was like, I want more of that in the film. But they say less is more, I guess. But yeah, I love this film. Great performances by Natalie Portman and the rest of the cast, who are phenomenal. Interesting concept, fantastic idea, and visually stunning. So that's why I picked it up on 4K. And yeah, I love this movie. It's not perfect, but it's great for what it is. A film that is damn near perfect is Al Pacino as Scarface, the gold edition, which comes with 2 discs, the 4K obviously, and the Blu-ray. Love the design, the art style of it. Yeah, it's one of the best films ever made in my opinion. It's one of those films that got me into the passion of film and made me appreciate performances, direction, writing, cinematography, editing, the whole thing. Suspense in this film, it's man, it's so great. It's one of the best films ever made. It's not for everyone. There's a lot of profanity in this movie, a lot of drug use, a lot of violence. Yeah, and it's a long film. Let me just see how long it actually is. Runtime 2 hours and 50 minutes. It's almost 3 hours long. For me, I don't really feel that runtime because it's that amazing. It's legitimately a fantastic film, but if you're if you're not made for profanity, violence, and an overuse of drugs, this is not the film for you. But there are so many iconic moments in this movie. It's a classic for a reason. Brian De Palma on his A game, Al Pacino putting everything out there, just going for it with his performance and his accent. I love this film. It's quotable as hell. And if you've never seen it, then maybe it's a great time to pick it up on 4K with Scarface, the Gold Edition. I love this movie. Last but not least, the first 4K outing from Arrow Video, and it's fitting that it is pitch black, given that the box is actually pitch black. Yeah, I like this film. It's dated in a lot of ways because there's a lot of use of CGI, and the budget constraints back then are noticeable in this film, especially in 4K. But the color palette, the cinematography, the production design overall is such, it's enjoyable as hell. And Vin Diesel, it's like the perfect role for him. Riddick is the perfect role for Vin Diesel and his acting chops. He can be stoic, he can be menacing, he can use that voice of his in a way that really fits the character. Yeah, I love this movie. It's like a guilty pleasure of mine because it's not really that great. If you really look at it, the CGI is dated as hell. The performances are not that great overall. It's pretty cheesy in a lot of ways. The editing and the action, it leaves some things to be desired, but the concept of this alien world and these creatures emerging from the depths once the solar eclipse happens. I mean, yes, the sound design is fantastic for these creatures. The design for the creatures themselves is alien and disturbing and really well made. I wish the film held up better than it did, but it's still a great thing to pick up on 4K because look at all of these bonus features. Arrow Video, again, with an absolute win of a release. So yeah, I picked it up, pitch black. So that will conclude this first part of the 2020 wrap-up video, the wrap-up party that was 2020. Not that there's a lot to party about, but still, we made it through, didn't we? We're still healthy, still hanging in there, and still being able to work, which I realize is not the case for a lot of people. And my heart goes out to you, my best wishes go out to you, and of course, I hope you're staying well and safe and healthy. And for all of our sakes, I hope this whole thing turns around pretty soon, because for me, I don't really miss the things I did like once a year, like going to the coast, catching some sun or whatever, because we can do that here. We can do that in our own backyard. It's the things that I would do on a weekly to monthly basis. Those are the things I really miss, like playing soccer with my friends, getting something to eat, or grabbing a drink with some friends, or with my wife, or going to the movie theaters. I miss it so much. I've been to the theaters a couple of times last year when it was allowed, and I saw some great films, and just being there was such a fun experience. But we'll talk more about that in videos to come, in part 2 of the 2020 wrap-up party. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for being patient with me. Because yeah, I know I've been incredibly late with this video. It's March already, so I'm over a year late. Sorry about that. If you were waiting for these, I'm gonna make it up to you with 3 new videos in a short period of time. So it was part 1. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you in part 2 of the 2020 wrap-up party for Blureel Studios. Ciao.